First of all, thank you to the organizers of this conference for having me here. I've always been inspired by the work that is done in Beirut, and it's a pleasure to be here. Part of my intention behind this talk is to actually solicit some thoughts about how the UAW 2865, which is the student worker union that I'm a part of, might move forward and what it is that we're doing, which is what I'm going to be speaking about today. So across the sea, my union is having a protest right now. Yeah, okay. I don't know how to do this. Okay. Across the sea, my union is having a protest at the moment, and I thought I would start with this picture for a couple of different reasons. The first is because I think it exemplifies quite a bit of the particular political moment that the University of California is facing at the moment, which is our chancellor, the University of California, Davis's chancellor, Katehi, received a position on a board that directly contradicts the mission of the public university. Now, I start with this because I think it exemplifies sort of like my contradictory approach to the public university in particular, but the academy in general, which is, on the one hand, I look at what's going on with the university and the academy, and I want to save it. I see the movement towards privatization, I see the corporatization, I see the move towards liberalization, and I want to stop it. And something that we're going to be talking about today is one way we can do that is to conceptualize what it is that we're doing as academic workers as labor, not just as activism or as research, but as labor. However, the other side of this contradiction is that this desire to save the university assumes that it can be saved. We've heard quite a few speakers today speaking about the ways in which the academy can be a site of social justice. It can be a site for learning. I want to call it into question and to suggest that the very foundation of the university, the very architecture of it, is fundamentally violent and racist. So what is it then can we do with that realization? So the other reason I wanted to start with this picture is because it does exemplify the political moment that the University of California is facing. It's particular to the University of California, but I think it exemplifies a political opportunity that stretches to Lebanon and to Palestine and to Tunisia as well, which is the constellation not only of the neoliberalization and privatization of the academy, but also anti-Palestinian oppression, and then also tuition hikes, also anti-Black violence, also a number of other things. I think that we cannot consider these things as separate, and again, what I'm going to speak about today is the ways in which academic labor is one of the best ways to confront these things. So my talk will proceed in three different parts. The first section will outline my main theoretical intervention, and then I will explain the work that we did as UAW 2865 last year to organize the resolution calling on the University of California and our international union to divest from companies profiting from the Israeli occupation. We were the first major trade union in the United States to do so, and it's caused huge ripple effects in organized labor in the US, which is something that I think can raise questions about what organized labor can do more generally. And then in conclusion, I'm going to draw on sort of my main theoretical inspiration for thinking about what academic labor can do, and that is Fred Moten and Harney's Undercommons, which is a text that a lot of student workers and students at the University of California, Los Angeles, are using to organize alternative ways of conceptualizing both study and research. So hopefully I'll get to all of these things. If I don't, that's okay. We can talk about them in later points. So first, I am a proud rank and file member, former officer of what we call the AUDU caucus of the UAW 2865, which represents 13,000 graduate student employees across the University of California system. We are the largest academic union in the country, and AUDU is it is the first democratic union movement in academic labor. And it has inspired other ADU movements across the country to do similar work as us. Now, what ADU has tried to do within a structure of organized labor, which if anyone here knows very much about US organized labor, it's very business union centered, it's very top down, it's very Democratic Party oriented, and it's under attack. So what we've tried to do is re-change the focus of what academic labor counts as. And we've done that by a couple different things, by doing a couple different things. The first is by trying to redefine what it is that labor is. Often when we think about what we do as academics, we think of teaching, we think of research, we think of organizing conferences, we think of attending conferences. Very rarely do we think about love and solidarity as a part of our labor. Very rarely do we think of mentorship as a part of our labor. Very rarely do we think of creativity as a part of our labor. So something that we've tried to do is actually bring these components in to our organized labor contract to redefine what the university recognizes as labor. And so we had our big contract campaign 2 years ago, which resulted in one of the more progressive social justice union contracts for academic student laborers in the country. We included pretty groundbreaking elements such as requiring the university to build all gender bathrooms, capping class sizes, etc. Now we used that momentum that we gained from this pretty momentous contract campaign to try to do a BDS resolution the following year. So inspired by the Palestinian trade union's kind of invitation to join them in solidarity during the Gaza massacre of 2014, we returned to our campuses in the fall of 2014, committed to continuing to do the work of redefining academic labor. And what we wanted to do was make pro-Palestinian work, make anti-racist work, and make solidarity work a crucial component of what our union did. So we organized a series of, teach-ins and conferences, and we can go into detail later about how the actual work of organizing these things happened. The result of which was sort of the biggest turnout of a membership vote that we've ever had, and an overwhelmingly supportive vote of approval by our membership, saying that they do indeed want Palestine to count as what it is that we do as an academic labor union. Here I have some pictures. So this is our Facebook page. We have like 1,200 likes, which doesn't seem like very much, but for us it kind of is. And again, we had more than that show up to vote for our BDS resolution, which was more than we've ever had come out to vote for anything ever. So it was really huge. This is the initial call out that we did during the massacre, actually, in 2014, where we initiated our decision to pursue a BDS resolution. And some of this wording is worth paying attention to, which is why I quoted it at length. I'll just read a little bit from each section. So we have a responsibility as educators to both learn about and teach the social issues of our time, including pressing global struggles such as the struggle of the Palestinian people for liberation from settler colonialism and apartheid. And then the second paragraph is the Palestinian Trade Union invitation to join in solidarity. And then the final paragraph is the one that I really want to highlight today. And it says, we believe that as student and labor organizers, we have a duty to stand by principles of anti-oppression organizing. As we stand in solidarity with Palestinian self-determination, we also recognize yada, 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 yada. Now, what this paragraph does is crucially different than what we've been talking about so far today. Instead of recognizing our role as researchers as one of naming oppression and one of doing research and naming damage, instead what it is that we can do is organize with people who've invited us to join with them against systems of capital, against systems of oppression that we ourselves are complicit in and that we ourselves are appropriated by. Recognizing our roles in a university as more than just one of teachers and students, but also ones of like appropriated laborers. We are providing labor for the university, is crucial for starting to re-articulate sort of like the modes of organizing that we have available to us. When we recognize that part of what causes systems of oppression are flows of capital, we can disrupt those. It's a little bit easier than naming damage all the time. We know how to disrupt. We know how to go on strike. And that's been some of the most successful moves that we've been able to make at the University of California. We were able to pass our contract campaign by going on strike twice. And it was amazing, because we were able to teach our undergraduates about collective bargaining and collective organizing. I think one of the bigger takeaways that I've had is the university, and I speak with the capital U, tries to make us approach it and approach our work as individuals, as autonomous individuals doing our research, teaching our classes, doing our work. Whereas in fact, we can stand together and do collective disruption. And I think that the language of labor union and labor solidarity is finally what got me to realize this. And of course, it was the Palestinians' invitation to do so that really inspired us. And this, of course, is all going down within the climate of oppression that the University of California is uniquely situated to provide. My own chancellor forwarded a letter to all of the administrators on campus telling them explicitly to repress pro-Palestinian speech, like explicitly, to discipline and police us. So it's really important to also note that one of the reasons that we were so committed to taking on this pro-Palestine position was that we have a contract. As a union, we have a legally represented and acknowledged and recognized contract that can be enforced by law. So if we can get Palestine into that contract, we can do things to protect students and workers that experience oppression such as this. So here's just an example of some of the messaging that we used to talk to student workers, most of whom are pretty apolitical for a lot of the reasons that I mentioned before. We're taught to do our research, to stay in our labs, to focus on our dissertations, to get tenure. It's very, very difficult, actually, for us to learn to love and feel for others, and to join in coalition with them. So I spent literally hundreds of hours walking through and talking to individual academic student workers about Palestine and why it counts as their labor and why it should matter to them as a worker. And that's kind of what organizing takes. But it totally worked. Here are the principles that we insisted on communicating. Again, I think you'll see that, as was just mentioned next to me, it is awesome. And yet I think I also want to remind us, as my time is running out, that one of the weaknesses of this is that it is a legally recognized contract that we're working with in an organized labor context, which predominantly values business interests and the interests of capital and the Democratic Party more than Palestinian voices. And so, okay, to cut a long, long story short, we won the vote by doing a lot of really cool things like this, and like teach-ins that connected all the dots. We won, it was great. But not soon after, an organized group of opposition appealed our vote, saying that it was anti-Semitic and that it harmed workers' interests. Workers' interests in war profiteering companies, of course. That by adhering to the BDS picket line, that we, okay, 0 time left, that we would be hurting other workers. The vote was nullified a couple months ago. We are now working on unnullifying it. I would love to talk more about this during Q&A, because I would love to solicit everyone here's feedback about how to organize against this. Thank you for your time.